In today's episode for Ford Friday, the Ford Falcon and Ford Fairmont XD of Australia. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight. Quarterlight, if you don't know, we're a car brochure channel looking at car brochures from around the world, and every Friday we're looking at Ford. Today we're looking at the Fairmonts and Falcons of Australia, the XD, in a full range brochure. Last week we looked at Cortina, week before that Escort, obviously very much European Fords with larger engines, but if you have missed those episodes, I will do a link at the end of the programme. But the Fairmonts and Falcons, the XDs, certainly have a huge resemblance to the European Ford Granada Mark II, but actually is completely different. Anyway, we'll have a look at it and have a talk about that, because the range actually is huge at this time. So this is the full range brochure we've been having a look at. Ford Cars catalogue January 1981, Ford Sales Company of Australia Limited. We've got a lot to get through. Let's go straight to the Falcon. So the range starts here. So the lowest model that is featured at this time is the Falcon GL. We'll also look at the Fairmont as well, because essentially they are the same thing, but the Fairmont is the more upmarket model. With a standard, it came with a larger engine. Let's just zoom in on the text first. So the Ford Falcon GL, a world-class family car without a world-class price. Standard, they came with a 3.3 litre alloy head cross-floor 6-cylinder engine, power-assisted front disc brakes, steel belt radial ply tyres, quartz halogen headlights. It then goes into more details for the specifications for this model. Again, talking about that 3.3 litre engine, going with a 3-speed manual column shift, which is a little bit unusual. Wheels and brakes, styled steel road wheels, tells us about the tyre sizes, power assisted front disc brakes. On the exterior, rectangular quartz halogen headlights. We get a gas strut engine hood support, body side protection mouldings, right hand side exterior rear view mirror and interior remote control. Interior soft feel 4-spoke steering wheel, reclining front bucket seats, front folding centre armrest, carpeted passenger compartment floor, rubber mat on luggage compartment floor, AM push button radio with lockdown aerial, 3-speed heater demister, interior courtesy light operated by front doors, electric rear window demister, steering column control stalks variously, prismatic day-night interior rear view mirror, dash mounted handbrake with trigger release, lockable front passenger side glove box and dash integrated parcel tray, light on warning lamp and hazard flashers. On the inside, pretty basic really. We don't even get a rev counter on there. We do get this very odd gauge, which actually would have been an optional extra. It's calling that a economy gauge, but certainly looks like something, you know, the second, third or fourth owner has just screwed in there. It doesn't look very factory, does it? Moving along to the centre console with these very big knobs. I mean, very functional switch gear, isn't it? And they're all labelled as well, so that's a little bit unusual to European eyes. Seats wise do look very nice, and we've even got this little place to rest our arm on as well. I've got my suspicion that they are the vinyl seat trims, though. It doesn't actually call them that, it just quite simply calls them reclining bucket seats in the description. They do look a little bit vinyl because they look like leather seats, and obviously they wouldn't be on this base model car. Vinyl seats and Australia, I wouldn't have thought, are a particularly good mix. And then the main image showing our base model Ford Falcon GL. Like I say, if you quickly glance at that from a European eye, it does look like a Mark II Ford Granada. Apparently, only the front headlights are actually from a Granada, but obviously the styling is heavily influenced to what Europe was doing when they were making the Mark II Granada. In fact, they did at first consider just bringing the Mark II Ford Granada to Australia in its original form. They deemed it was too expensive to convert it to the harsh Australian conditions to keep it competitive, so they started obviously looking at the Granada and styling it to look similar, but actually they are a much bigger car than a Mark II Granada. I do like the styling though. I do like the wheels that they actually use on these. And by that, yes, they are just steel wheels, but I love the chunky tyres they actually used at this time. I've never been a huge fan of sort of low profile tyres. It's always nice to see some tyre, and obviously I'm sure that would have helped in the Australian conditions. But let's move on up the range. So as we turn the page, we move on to the Fairmont. So like I said, the Fairmont was the more upmarket Falcon, so we don't go from a Falcon GL to a Falcon Ghia. We go from a Falcon GL to what's just called a Fairmont, and then after that the Fairmont Ghia. They do come with larger engines though. The standard engine is a 4.1 litre now, although you can certainly spec your Falcon to have that 4.1 if you wanted, and indeed larger engines, which we'll talk about later. Tells us Ford Fairmont outstanding in any company, 4.1 litre alloy head cross-flow 6-cylinder engine and 3-speed T-bar automatic transmission are your standard piece of kit. Incidentally, your Falcon just came with a 3-speed manual as standard, so that's a little bit weird. You surely would have felt you wanted more gears in that. But anyway, now we do get cloth seat facing, so it is a nice move up, and tinted side and rear glass. At first glance, the seats do look the same when we look at this picture, but when you start looking closer, they are a far nicer material. It describes them as corduroy crushed Beaumont cloth seat facings. They do look far nice, and I'm sure they're a lot nicer to live with. We can just about make out that these are automatics now. There is our highest spec dash. Just before we move to our main image, the specs. Again, it's repeating, it's a 4.1 with an automatic. It tells you about the wheels and brakes. And then it talks about the exterior, deep section, body side protection mouldings, chrome wheel trims with a bright wheel centerpiece, left-hand exterior rear view mirror with interior remote control, bright mouldings front and rear, dual tone horn, interior's got those seats which we mentioned, intermittent windscreen wipers, front center console with armrest and storage bins, cut pile carpet on passenger compartment floor, carpeted luggage compartment floor, carpeted lower door area, rear outboard inertia reel seat belts, tinted band laminated windscreen, tinted side and rear glass, interior courtesy lights operated by all 4 doors, digital clock with date and month display on demand, vanity mirror in passenger side sun visor, folding centre armrest in rear compartment, outboard passenger grab handles, courtesy light in glove box and in luggage compartment. And then a look at the Fairmont main image. Extra sort of chrome work or bright work, as we would expect from Ford as we move up the range. I think most noticeably on that sort of leading edge, which certainly does brighten up the overall vibe. So where do we go from here? What's the next model up? So the next model up then is your Fairmont Ghia. So obviously we're certainly moving up there. Now, I do particularly like the wheels on this. I know I keep talking about the wheels. So again, we've got these really nice big chunky tyres, which I always like to see, and rather nice alloy wheels to go with it. And then we've got sort of like a red or orange red tape stripe going the length of the vehicle. Let's have a look inside though. Let's see what specs we can have. So rather nicely, the next page is showing rather nice interior pictures. Describes it as The Ford Fairmont Ghia, the name says it all. 4.1 litre alloy head cross-flow 6-cylinder engine, 3-speed T-bar automatic, 4-wheel disc brakes, sports alloy road wheels, air conditioning and power steering. Interior wise, it does look a little bit of a sea of grey, but yeah, it's certainly moved up the trim levels now. So these seats now are crushed velour cloth. So I'm sure they were a nice feel of a seat. We can even see rear seat belts on there as well. Moving down, showing you a higher spec centre console and higher spec steering wheel, and then all of the gauges. So we certainly moved up now. It says the Ford Fairmont Ghia standard equipment highlights as for the Fairmont sedan, but with these different upgraded or additional features. So we get those rather nice sports alloy road wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes, on the exterior limited slip differential, power steering, bright finish, wheel arch mouldings and exhaust trim, body side pinstripe, fog lamps, and then on the inside integrated air conditioning with ducted to rear compartment, crushed velour cloth seat facings and door trim panels, soft feel twin spoke steering wheel, AM FM stereo radio cassette player with power aerial, comprehensive instrumentation, map pockets on rear of front seats, remote control boot release, front footwell courtesy lights and twin spot dome lamp. So nice to see air conditioning, because obviously in Australia you really wanted air conditioning. And in fact, if I just flip to the back of the brochure, it does start talking about factory fitted integral air conditioner, very popular option for the XD Falcon and the Fairmont range. I'm sure it was certainly a well optioned feature for these cars at the time. So it then takes us to the wagons or estates, both available as a Falcon or a Fairmont. Looks like we can only get the GL Falcon, and then the model just called the Ford Fairmont Wagon. Doesn't look like we can get the Ghia version, surprisingly. It describes this as the Ford Falcon GL and Fairmont wagons, more of what you buy a wagon for. So we get a rear window wash wipe system, one-piece liftgate with gas struts, which is surprising because I'm always more used to seeing those two-piece tailgates on Australian wagons. Quartz halogen headlamps, steel belt radial ply tyres. So the yellow wagon in this particular brochure is always going to be the lower spec Falcon GL. There we can see it with that rear wash wipe in action, and also gives us a good indication how they're badged and those interesting reversing lights. And then an image of the higher spec Fairmont wagon, which is always going to be the blue coloured one in this particular brochure. Obviously a very practical wagon for a family. It does tell us in small print actually that this has got the optional larger engine in it. You can just see above there, illustrated right, the Fairmont wagon with optional 4.9 litre engine available at extra cost. So they did go for the larger engine option on this model. Again, we'll talk about the optional engines at the end. And then there is that larger engined Fairmont wagon. Then it gives the spec, starting with the GL wagon, and basically it's very much as the GL sedan we looked at earlier, coming with a 3.3 litre alloy head cross-flow 6-cylinder engine and a 3-speed manual. Wheels and brakes, styled steel road wheels, power assisted front disc brakes on the exterior. We get the same features as the GL's sedan, but with these different features. So a one-piece liftgate with gas strut, a rear window wash wipe system, a left-hand side exterior rear view mirror with interior remote control. And then it shows the specs for the Fairmont wagon, rather confusingly, showing an image of it in yellow. Similar sort of thing as the sedan, obviously, the Fairmont sedan, coming with a 4.1 and a 3-speed T-Bar Auto. We get styled steel road wheels, we get power assisted front disc brakes, and on the exterior we get a one-piece liftgate with gas struts, rear window wash wipe system. We now get a rather nice chrome finish roof rack, which in Europe we would have had to go up to a Ghia version to get something like that. And then on the inside, carpeted load compartment area. And then the main image is showing that Falcon GL wagon. And then we can get what looks like packs. So first one up is called the ESP, which would be standing for the European Sports Pack, which you could only have at this time on the Ghia version. But then rather confusingly, there's also an S pack you can get for the GL and that standard Fairmont. So it's a little bit confusing that you've got a European Sports Pack and an S pack. Very unusual. But we'll have a look at the differences between those two, starting with the ESP. So, like it says, available as an extra cost option on the Fairmont Ghia. So we get Bathurst Globe alloy wheels, sports suspension with Blistine shock absorbers, front shield seats, and red instrument panel lighting. Also looks like we get this sort of red grille, again reminding me of later Mark II Granadas. Very unusual alloy wheels though, and I think I quite like them actually. I'm always sometimes in two minds with some of the wheels that they choose, but I quite like those ones. We get these interesting looking extra lights on the front as well. Ford always used to like putting extra lights on the sporty versions, of course. And then if we peek on the inside, some very unusual seats. It gives us a second look at those sporty seats. We have a look at the dash, and like it says, illuminated in red. Red, of course, is sporty. And then finally it describes it, or rather lists what you actually get with this particular model. So as the Fairmont Ghia, but with these different or upgraded features. So we get a 4-speed manual floor shift transmission now. We get those Bathurst Globe alloy wheels, black bib front spoiler, black deck lid and rear quarter mouldings, revised drag struts, special sports suspension incorporating Blistine gas shock absorbers, red orange tape stripe, and on the inside red instrument panel lighting, front shield seats without mat pockets, and a wool blend cloth seat facing. So we then turn the page and it gives various nice images and some of the extra equipment we can get. We'll certainly cast our eye over some of this, but down the bottom here it's talking about the S pack, so that's an image of the S pack, and it's also talking about another pack called the Outback pack, so we'll have a look at that, where it tells us a wide range of options. To suit the requirements of individual drivers and different driving conditions, there are a number of extra cost options and option packs available for the Falcon and Fairmont range. These include a special Outback pack designed for more rugged conditions, free towing packs, and the S pack, an exciting concept which combines several individual features to bring a more sporty appearance and luxurious feel to your Falcon GL or Fairmont sedan or wagon. S pack includes the following different and or upgraded features. So we get distinctive paint treatment, slotted steel road wheels with chrome trim rings, comprehensive instrumentation including speedometer, tachometer, fuel, temperature and oil pressure gauges, voltmeter, trip meter, low fuel warning lamp and digital clock. Digital clock standard equipment already on the Fairmont. Intermittent windscreen wipers, standard equipment on the Fairmont. Striped wool blend cloth seat facings, left hand side remote control exterior rear view mirror, which would be standard equipment on wagons and Fairmont sedan, a front spoiler, long range driving lights, different steel belt radial ply tyre, and a delete body side mouldings on your Falcon GL with the S-Pack. And then rather interestingly, it's actually showing a very small image of that Falcon GL with the S-Pack, and we can see that that body side moulding, the rubbing strips down the side, have been deleted. And then we get various little images of some of the options, like a left hand side remote control exterior rear view mirror, that 3-speed T-bar automatic transmission, integral air conditioning with ducting to rear compartment on floor mounted transmission vehicles only. We can have comprehensive instrumentation including tachometer. So these are some of the options you can have, although like we've seen, some of these could already be fitted as standard. Striped wool blend seat facings look very nice. AM push button radio, stereo cassette, tape player. Long range driving lights and the Volante alloy road wheel if you want. Now of course, engine wise, your 3.3 litre crossflow 6-cylinder engine we saw was the standard engine for the Falcon GL, and of course that came as standard with that 3-speed, but it looks like you could option it to have a 4-speed manual if you want, and then various options to have it as an automatic. And then the 4.1 litre crossflow 6-cylinder engine was your standard piece of kit for the Fairmont, I do apologise. But you could option it on the Falcon if you wanted it. But then you could of course gone further. You could have optioned a 4.9 litre V8 on either the Falcon or the Fairmont if you wanted, and then you could have gone still further and order a 5.8 litre V8 on your base model Falcon if that's what you wanted. And then look at the engines there. So the 3.3 was a 3272cc 6-cylinder engine. The 4.1 was a 4092cc 6-cylinder engine. And then you had your 8-cylinder engines of the 4.9 litre 8-cylinder, which was 4947cc, and then your 5.8 litre 8-cylinder, which was 5771 cc's. The story doesn't end there really with the Falcons, because you could have gone for, of course, the Falcon Sundowner van, your Falcon Utes, your Falcon vans with or without rear windows. And in fact, this little graphic at the end kind of like demonstrates all the different body styles you could have as your Falcon. Very interesting. We'll look at the more commercial side of the Falcons later on in the series though. But that does take us to the end of today's episode for the Falcons and Fairmont XD. Next week we go luxury with the Fairlane, so look out for that one. And in fact, if you've missed any of the episodes, I'll do a link at the end of this episode. I do want to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you like this type of thing, please do consider subscribing. That is completely free. Keeps you in touch with the channel and the many different brochures we look at from around the world. You can also become a member if you want for a very small fee. That is there to support the channel. But thank you so much for watching today. This is where I'll drop in the extra boxes to have a look at other episodes, and indeed the ones you would have missed for this particular brochure series. Eventually in that box the whole series will be there. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care. We'll see you very soon. All the best and goodbye.